going on, Falcon fan? This your boy Ricondo. Come back at you with another video. Guys, football is back. Ain't you guys excited? Football is back. It seems like it's been gone a long time. Um, February's been a long time away. And then these 5 weeks, just waiting on training camp. It's been like the dog days of summer, right? So I'm happy that football is back. We got a lot of news to get in today about what we heard from day 2 of training camp at there at Flowery Branch. And so let's before we get into that news, guys, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here that I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in here and talk about these Atlanta Falcons. So guys, like I said, a lot to get into today. One thing was awesome to hear that Todd Mclure, center for Atlanta Falcons for many years, is going to be inducted to our Ring of Honor. One of 12 other players that's already in the Ring of Honor. That's real noteworthy for a guy that got picked late in the draft to come in, went through 4 different coaches with the Atlanta Falcons, was the leader of that offensive line for a long time. Guys, remember with Justin Blaylock and guys like that. Harvey Dahl was here at the time. So those nasty offensive linemen, Todd McClure was that centerpiece for that. And you guys went right from somebody like a Todd McClure, had a little dry spell, then went to Alex Mack. But you go back to that 2012 team when we went to the NFC Championship game, when we had a 17-0 lead going into the second half. That was one of our best teams we had, and that was led by our center at the offensive line, Todd McClure. Of course, that team, we had a young Julio Jones. Roddy White was in his prime. Tony Gonzalez. That team was special, and I believe if we actually would have won that game, we could have actually had a chance to beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl that year. So, um, but Todd McClure was one of the catalysts for that team, and a lot of more teams that we had during his tenure with the Atlanta Falcons. So congratulations to Todd McClure. I'm not sure when they're going to actually, what game they presented, um, but I'll be there because I'll probably be at all the games this year. So I can't wait to see that. Um, Next, let's talk about our Vice President of Player Personnel, Kyle Smith. Talk about just the turnover of the roster, trying to make this roster more better. It's consistent what we heard from Terry Fontenot during the offseason, just about bringing guys in to make this team better. He even mentioned that some of these guys on the team is not going to be here, and it might be somebody that's out there that's going to be on this team to start the season. So they continue to bring guys in, continue to turn out the roster, continue to try to make this be the best competitive roster it can be for 2022. And if some of these guys actually can continue to be on for somebody we could utilize in the future. So I love to hear about what Kyle Smith was talking about. He also mentioned um, they already started looking at all the other 31 teams, guys, fringe players that might not make the rosters, and even those guys could come in and make this roster and make our team better. So be on the lookout for that. So when you're out there watching preseason games and you see some guys that's playing in the third and fourth quarter of other teams that's playing well, but at that position, you already looking at the team and they're real deep in that position. And you just say, he would be good for us because we might be slim at that position, but they're deep at that position. That could be somebody that we could come in and bring to our team to make our team better. So um, I love they already looking at that. And I'm pretty sure they're looking at our roster as well, trying to cherry pick some of our guys that we might be pretty deep on at a position. So that's one thing. So speaking of the roster, um, they also made a roster move today. Couple. They brought in Henry Black, safety. Played with Green Bay for 2 years. The first year played like 8 games. The second year played the full season. Ended up with 38 tackles, 2 pass defense, and 1 forced fumble. So a veteran coming in to add to that safety room, along with Richard Grant. Jalen Hawkins, Eric Harris, Dean Marlowe, Tease Tabor. So another depth piece. So you can already see when they talk about competition, bringing another guy in to compete with these safeties who's already here to see what he can do. So I love that. Another veteran guy, like I said, been in the league a while, to push our young safeties and then these other guys that they brought in. You just love to see that. Um, we heard from the coach today, Coach Arthur Smith, talked about just, you know, from day to day, going in from day one to day two, talked about giving guys chances to compete, and he shows that every year. Today he talked about Caleb Huntley, a guy that I probably would predict wouldn't make the roster, but you never know. Caleb Hunt could come out and show that he could be the best running back in the room, and if that's the case, he could beat out somebody else. So, giving guys like Caleb Huntley a chance. He mentioned the centers yesterday with Drew Dalman ran with the ones yesterday. Today it was Matt Hennessy running with the ones. So he's keeping to his word, having guys compete, making it fair across the board. Of course, it's some spots, um, these guys going to be ones all the time. I don't imagine Kyle Pitts, Grady Jarrett, Jake Matthews, Christian Edstrom running with twos. Those guys solidify, but if they get into ones that don't play well and somebody else outplay them, and that's a whole different story. But I don't think that's the case, and for any of those guys. But the competition is what we want to see from this team, and the coaching staff is keeping their word on that, as we stand. I also want to mention, because I did forget about, by adding Henry Black, we did have to release somebody. We released tight end Braden Lewinus, a guy from the CFL. I thought at least we was going to be able to see this guy in a preseason game to see what he was able to do. But I think the way Parker Hesse is playing, Fersker is playing, of course Kyle Pitts, and then Felipe Franks has made a couple plays as well, um, playing tight end, and you have to tip your hat off to Felipe Franks for actually being a quarterback in college. Never played any other position in college, to come to the pros and switch to tight end and actually playing pretty well at that position. He's still going to get some reps at QB, but to be able to just show his athleticism to make that transition from quarterback to tight end is kind of impressive. And some of the plays he looks natural making those plays. So I'm gonna tip my hat off to a player like Felipe Franks. We also heard from Big Grady Jarrett. Talked about the camaraderie of this team. You love to hear it. He mentioned the college atmosphere. I think the closeness of this team is what's going to make us better, especially when we got the whole national media and a lot of our fans against us, thinking we're going to suck this year. Those guys in that locker room need to come together. That coaching staff need to come together, and us little fans that do believe in these guys, we're gonna be behind them, and we're gonna go in and shock the world. But Grady talked about that. He loves the atmosphere. He can see how everybody comes in, being together with one another. But when they get on the field, they actually showing that they want to compete. And I think the ideal of the competition, go back to that word competition. I think it's going to be the theme for this training camp. It's what's causing that to bring in guys more together, because you got to remember, when you competing in your spot, it's not solidified. It's gonna be a lot of trash talking with one another. Everybody's giving it they all to show what they can do. And the biggest thing Grady mentioned, because when you show what you can do here, just like we talked about with every team looking at guys, fringe guys, what you put on the tape, um, it could actually benefit not just here this Atlanta Falcon team, but maybe could um, benefit any of the other 31 teams in the NFL. So we also heard from Brian Edwards. He feels good. Second day, taking it one day at a time. trying to learn this playbook. I think him, along with Drake London, is going to be our 1-2 at the wide receiver position. If you go looking back, a lot of his plays that he had at Vegas, a lot of those big plays, big wide receivers, he continued to say that he think he's a good fit for this offensive system. And all these guys love. We heard that from Cordell Patterson yesterday. Correct. Just love the way they utilized him. Arthur Smith. Everybody don't want to give him credit, but he does have a good feel for the game of football and the way he utilized players. So I can see it's gonna be interesting how he utilize this group of skilled players that we have that is a lot better than what we had last year. So, but a guy like Brian Edwards coming in, he kept mentioning just one day at a time, which that's the mindset you need to have, especially coming into a new system. But he also reiterated the camaraderie of this team and how everybody likes each other, and he just loved his atmosphere. Um, that makes me feel good as a Falcon fan because a lot of people, when they think about the Falcons, um, you don't think free agents want to come here to play with this team, but with having this kind of atmosphere that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, this new regime is bringing in, um, that translate when other players talk to players across the league, and when they might want to come here to play in this kind of atmosphere. Of course, we got to win some games, but I just like the way this culture is starting to shape up. Just going into year 2 and day 2 of this year's training camp. And last we heard from Drake London, of course, number 8 overall pick. Um, he's in the same line with Brian Edwards of trying to learn the playbook. He said it has slowed down from doing the off season um, practice going into training camp, so that's good. Um, he said he just loved the idea of actually being um, playing football all day instead of going to classes and things like that. This is his job, but let's be honest, guys. These guys are playing football. The things we did, going outside in the backyard, um, and they get to do it for a living. You gotta love that. Um, you want to be great. You're going to get into the books. You're going to study, and you're going to try to put what you learn on the field, right? So, but Drake London definitely is going to be the number one pick. I mean, be the number one target from the receiver position. I think the number one target is going to be Kyle Pitts, of course. But from the receiver position, I think Drake London is going to have to show what he's capable of doing. So, um, if he could have a Jamar Chase type season, that'd be awesome. Don't want to put all that pressure on him, but hey, we want to win, right? So if anybody could do it, a receiver, because those guys, it'd be easy for them to translate what they did in college to the pros. Of course, they're going up against better athletes and things like that. But if you got a good, solid, competent quarterback to get you the ball, I think it would translate a little easier for somebody like a Drake London. But we still need to just let him take it one day at a time, similar to what we talked about with Brian Edwards. And last thing I want to talk about is just it was a moment that Grady Jarrett mentioned about these guys going good against good. Um, and everybody was watching. If you go back to your high school days, and you go back to the Oklahoma drills, it wasn't a drill like that, but good against good. Grady going up against Lindstrom, Armor Katie going up against Jake Matthews, AJ Terrell going up against Drake London. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. And the good thing about this season, we're actually going to have two um, practices with different teams. So instead of beating up on each other, we're going to actually be able to go up against other teams during this training camp period to actually go good. I'm good against with those guys as well. So um, day 2, guys, in the books. We learn more and more each day about these guys. Um, It was a report from Michael Rothstein about Marcus Mariota has not um, had a drop pass as in the last 2 days, which is pretty good. He did mention, of course, the receivers gave him help on a couple of passes, but that's what you want, right? You want to be able to give your receivers opportunity to make plays, but that's a good sign for us. He also mentioned Desmond Ritter, um, not that far behind. He is learning the playbook, of course. So Marcus Mariota is definitely going to be ahead of him, and that's what we expect. But I just love the idea that we're starting to see what this potential could be. It's just day two. I know these guys not in pads. I know, but football is back, so I'm excited either way. And the last thing, guys, I will be at training camp tomorrow, so stand by um, for my first-hand knowledge this time of what I see on the field from these guys, and um, give you my thoughts instead of reading what other guys said, the little clips you see, and listen to these guys' interviews. So that's all I have. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.